Hi, I'm Tom Bland, Aquafiber. You just about answered my question. I was just going to ask you, where are we on cap and trade as a nation? You say the Obama administration is going to be looking at it over the next year and a half. Do you have any specifics?
I don't know much, but I think from the people that I've talked to, hoping that there will be something in a year and a half in terms of, we don't know what the format might be like. The biggest question is, are we going to give away those allowances? Or are we going to charge for it from the get-go? And that's sort of the biggest sticky points. Are we going to give older industries who have a higher marginal cost a break, saying, okay, we're going to give you X amount of allowance, and then eventually after so many years we're going to have to buy the rest? Or are we going to make everybody buy from the get-go? And that's part of the sticky point areas. But I think they're looking at California to see how well this is going to. I mean, this is the year. This is 2009. This is the year we're going to see whether this is working. So,
thank you.
Jacques, it's great to have something like a sister city that we can sort of go forward together with. But one of the differences between Orlando and San Diego is that we have one Economic Development Commission, and they're actively involved in supporting clean technology in our efforts. We have one clean tech initiative at the present time with our clean tech study and the symposium series. In San Diego, there's the San Diego Economic Development Commission, the North County San Diego Economic Development Commission, the South County San Diego Economic Development Commission, the City of San Diego Clean Tech Program, and at least one other nonprofit organization, Cleantech San Diego, that's actively involved in clean tech. There seem to be a lot more players in San Diego than there are here, and I'm sure there are some challenges to that, but there are also some benefits to that too, probably also. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges and benefits from having so many organizations that you've got to work with? Sure.
Yes, it's true that we have obviously the EDC, and then we have the North and South County EDC. We also have Cleantech San Diego, which kind of represent actually they want to be the global trade organization, but right now they're starting with the Orange County and San Diego area. And we have the city, and then every cities have their own kind of clean tech per se programs or issues around that sustainability development. And then we have about, last time it was mentioned to me, about 170 non-governmental organizations that are focused on sustainability, which may include clean tech and public health and so on. So yes, in a sense, it creates a challenge because there's overwhelming amount of knowledge and potential sources that we can tap in. So there's a little bit of a turf battle sometimes. And there's a little bit of duplicates. A year and a half ago, two organizations put together a green building conference a week apart from each other. They're going after the same speakers, they're going after the same funding. So one of my role is to try to get people to create one voice for the region. And the main vehicle that we're using right now, obviously from the mayor's perspective, is to use him as the spokesperson and kind of the leader to get people to embrace this model, but also use Cleantech San Diego as kind of another vehicle for doing that. So the challenge is really too much interaction and difficulty to raise funding because there's a lot of competing issues. And the benefit is having the right people at the table and get things quickly rolled out. I mean, once you have an idea that has been vetted and people find it successful, then it's very easy to get it funded and move forward with it. So that's one of the advantages. But the biggest problem right now is too many interests and not enough focus. And that's one of the challenges we're facing. And
I think those comments will be very helpful to us as we complete our first study, complete the symposium series, and figure out how to go ahead from there in ways of organizing things. You'll see also, I want to mention that when we start talking about ideas in a few minutes for promoting clean tech, we borrowed some of the ideas from San Diego, and I admit that to Jacques, but I think we've seen today there are some other ideas that we didn't consider yet, and they're also great. One of the things I think that we've seen this morning that perhaps we haven't fully appreciated before is the strong relationship that can exist between clean tech and biotech. And we're trying to develop our biotech sector also. And the examples you gave of the relationship between the two just really helps you to remember that strong relationship. So I think that's a whole new area that we need to consider as we move forward. And
there's a lot of convergence of technology. That's sort of what my way of looking at it is. Clean tech, as people describe it, to me, my best way is an agent of transformation. It's not an industry per se. It's not a sector. It's just something that's going to transform every single industry. And some industry will just come out better and more cost effective in providing those services. And that's sort of what I believe it's really happening now. Some industries are a little further along than others. But the best example as an analogy of all this is look at the IT industry. You look back 20 years ago, 25 years ago, a lot of the jobs, even the ideas, we never thought of, and we didn't know, that we could have, a webmaster or some kind of networking administrator, all the things that we could do today with the Web 2.0. It's sort of the same thing happening there. And even though the IT started with the financial sectors and moved on to all the sectors, the last one right now that is being pushed for is the medical sector, right, the healthcare. Clean tech is sort of going after all of them. And the area that I think people are putting the most attention right now in terms of all these cities and what they're doing is energy generation. Anything around energy, because energy is the biggest component to economic growth, right? You need for every amount of of oil or whatever you use as an input, that creates X amount of GDP. And that's sort of what is the idea is to reduce the energy intensity so that we're able to do more with less.
Thanks for coming to visit us. The role of government and legislation in California obviously is a key driver in a lot of what's happening and what's going to happen. How important is that, would you say, to the evolution of clean tech? And what have you seen in those other cities in doing the benchmark? Are they all states with sort of progressive policy that stimulates the sector? And are there elements of clean tech that don't rely on the government imposing certain caps or legislation?
That's a good question. I would say the short answer is, in California, everything is driven by the policy. It's the AB 32, the green building standards, all these are kind of the main agent. And I think for what I've seen, what is happening in other states, it's also coming from either from the municipalities or the state level. But they're the ones moving forward. And what they're doing, per se, I think is, like Portland is a good example. Portland was really on the forefront of sustainability 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago. They have the most amazing infrastructure when it comes to the way they design their cities. So I think that was a perfect segue into getting into that clean tech space. They're using the sustainability goals and to create a clean tech sector. And that's what Portland is on the forefront of green buildings, for instance, because they have the large amount of green buildings been designed there. So is biofuel as well. They're pretty successful. But in my mind, I think, like any other areas, when you look at international studies, it's only when the government it's almost a mixture of carrot and sticks. You have to have some kind of incentives, but you all have some kind of control mechanism, and the regulatory and the mandate as the way to go. The problem we're facing in places like San Diego is, what if we want to be the greenest city and have strict mandate for green buildings? Well, that could have an impact on potentially becoming less competitive compared to other cities in terms of attracting companies. So there's a lot of reluctance, especially from the mayor, yes, we want to be a leader in that space, but we want to take small steps. So what we're doing is almost like what the state is imposing us to do. We try to be slightly a notch higher or a notch lower than that. And then having kind of a process to move toward that area. Some people will say that we're taking too long. So because if you look at the global warming situation, if global warming was the main purpose, we're about 350 parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere. I think the threshold is 400, 415. If we're beyond that, we don't know what the climate model at that point are pretty much all over the place. So that's what we're getting from the scientists from Scripps Institute of Oceanography. So that there is a little bit of a hurry in terms of what we need to do today. So, well, I'd like to thank you all. It was a pleasure to be here.